For months, a profound silence enveloped the life and ministry of Dr. Tony Evans, a silence that stirred reflection, curiosity, and concern across households, congregations, and digital communities alike. This quiet was unusual for a man whose voice had long served as a beacon of faith, guidance, and spiritual stability for millions. Dr. Evans had not merely delivered sermons, he had shaped lives, mentored countless pastors, and provided unwavering counsel to those navigating personal struggles, societal challenges, and the complexities of modern life. His teachings transcended generational boundaries, reaching far beyond the walls of his church, the urban alternative, into the hearts and minds of believers across the globe. An unexpected pause, the silence of Dr. Tony Evans. Then, seemingly without warning, he stepped back. The world noticed immediately. At first, the absence was subtle. Older sermons resurfaced on radio and television broadcasts. Social media accounts that had once pulsed with encouragement grew quiet, and scheduled preaching engagements were postponed or led in his absence. Observers sensed a shift, yet the exact reasons remained elusive. In a society where consistency in spiritual leadership often equates to reliability and stability, his pause was both striking and, for some, unsettling. Questions naturally arose, not from cynicism, but from care and concern. Where had Dr. Evans gone? Was he resting, reflecting, or recovering? How would the ministry adapt during this period of quiet? In truth, this silence was more than an absence. It was a moment that invited contemplation, reflection, and renewed appreciation for the weight of his influence. Followers were reminded that leadership is not merely about presence and performance. It is about the humanity behind the message, the person who bears responsibility for guiding others through faith, hope, and moral clarity. A life of service and enduring influence. To understand the impact of Dr. Evans' temporary withdrawal, one must first appreciate the breadth and depth of his life's work. Born on September 10, 1949, in Chicago, Illinois, Tony Evans displayed an early aptitude for leadership, teaching, and spiritual insight. His journey from a young boy in the heart of Chicago to becoming a globally recognized pastor and theologian was shaped by intellectual curiosity, compassion, and a desire to bridge cultural, social, and generational divides through biblical teaching. Over more than 4 decades, his ministry extended far beyond a single congregation. Through the urban alternative, radio broadcasts, television programs, conferences, books, and online content, Dr. Evans reached millions worldwide. His message resonated not only in urban centers, but also in rural communities across more than 130 countries, transcending cultural, geographical, and social boundaries. Families, pastors, students, and individuals drew guidance, encouragement, and practical wisdom from his teachings. What set Tony Evans apart was his ability to blend intellectual rigor with accessibility. His sermons were grounded in careful theological study, but were also practical, offering tangible guidance for navigating real-life challenges. He did not merely present doctrine, he illuminated how faith could be applied to relationships, career decisions, parenting, and civic engagement. His absence, therefore, was felt not as a missed lecture, but as a temporary dimming of a light that had guided millions in their spiritual journeys. The human side of leadership, especially in spiritual contexts, is often portrayed as tireless, unwavering, and almost superhuman. Yet, Tony Evans' ministry reminds the world that even the most disciplined leaders are human, with the same vulnerabilities, needs, and emotional depths as those they guide. A pivotal moment in his personal life underscored this truth: the passing of his beloved wife, Lois Evans, in 2019. Lois had been Tony's partner in both life and ministry, offering counsel, support, and companionship that shaped his approach to leadership. Her death created a profound void, altering the rhythms of his daily life and introducing a period of deep reflection and grief. Despite his ongoing public work, the personal loss left an imprint on his ministry, subtly influencing the tone, depth, and focus of his messages. The subsequent period of quiet, therefore, was not a retreat from responsibility, but a natural acknowledgement of the need to grieve, reflect, and restore inner strength. Through this lens, Tony Evans' pause highlighted the importance of self-care and intentional rest in leadership. It illustrated that even those with extraordinary stamina must honor the natural limits of human endurance. Followers witnessed a leader who could model balance between devotion to calling and care for self, a lesson as instructive as any sermon he delivered. The pause as purpose. When the announcement of his temporary withdrawal came, conveyed with warmth and clarity by his wife, the narrative shifted. Absence was reframed not as weakness, but as a season of intentional reflection and renewal. This pause, far from being a disruption, became a purposeful act aligned with the rhythms of spiritual life. The interlude allowed Tony Evans time to reflect on past accomplishments, refine future vision, and ensure that his ministry could continue with renewed focus. Rest in this context was not antithetical to leadership. It was integral to sustaining it. Scripture itself models this principle, as even Jesus withdrew periodically to pray, rest, and renew his strength for ministry. By stepping back, Dr. Evans demonstrated that periods of quiet are vital for long-term effectiveness, spiritual clarity, and visionary leadership. Legacy of influence. Dr. Tony Evans' legacy is both vast and multidimensional, reflecting a lifetime dedicated to teaching, mentoring, and leading with integrity. Over the course of several decades, he has preached in countless churches, authored influential books, hosted conferences, and provided guidance to leaders and congregants alike. Yet, beyond the sheer volume of his work, it is the profound depth and quality of his influence that distinguishes his legacy. Through his ministry, Evans has not only instructed and inspired, but also equipped future generations of leaders to carry forward principles of faith, wisdom, and ethical guidance. Those who have studied under him or been mentored directly often speak of a transformative experience, one that shapes not only professional ministry skills, but also character, decision-making, and spiritual maturity. His work through the Urban Alternative exemplifies this ripple effect. The organization has created networks of education, mentorship, and community engagement that span continents, touching communities in both urban centers and remote areas worldwide. Through radio broadcasts, television programs, online platforms, and written materials, Evans has ensured that his message reaches diverse audiences, providing clarity, encouragement, and practical application of biblical principles in everyday life. Families, pastors, students, and individual believers have been impacted not only by his teachings, but also by the example of a life lived in alignment with faith and values. What makes his legacy truly enduring is that it extends beyond output and visibility. Dr. Evans has consistently demonstrated that leadership is not solely about guiding others in moments of instruction or inspiration. It is about embodying the principles one teaches. Integrity, humility, perseverance, and compassion are not abstract concepts in his ministry. They are lived experiences modeled in both public and private contexts. even in periods of temporary pause or personal reflection, such as the season when he stepped back from active preaching. The enduring lesson is clear. A meaningful legacy is cultivated not only through continuous action, but also through intentional reflection, self awareness, and sustainable engagement. By prioritizing both personal renewal and the long term health of his ministry, Dr. Evans reinforces the principle that true influence grows when it is thoughtful, deliberate, and rooted in consistency of character, leaving an indelible mark on generations to come. Reflection and renewal. During Dr. Tony Evans' period of quiet, the pause he took resonated far beyond his personal life, creating a space for reflection, introspection, and spiritual renewal across his ministry and among his followers. Congregants, pastors, and lay people alike found themselves revisiting past sermons, studying previously delivered messages with fresh perspective, and engaging more deeply with the core teachings that had long guided their faith journeys. The absence of new content prompted a unique form of engagement. Listeners were no longer simply consuming guidance, but actively reflecting on how those teachings applied to their everyday lives, decisions, and relationships. Families explored ways to integrate biblical principles into their routines, while church leaders considered strategies for fostering more resilient, compassionate, and empowered communities. This period of collective reflection acted as a mirror, allowing individuals to examine not only their spiritual growth, but also their personal resilience, priorities, and capacity for patience. Followers considered how they had responded to challenges, measured their progress in faith driven endeavors, and assessed the alignment between their values and their actions. Even those who had long participated in the ministry found new insights emerging as they engaged more deliberately with previously familiar messages. In essence, the quiet encouraged deeper listening, more thoughtful meditation, and a renewed sense of purpose. The pause also highlighted the broader ripple effect of intentional leadership. Evans' decision to step back was not merely an act of personal restoration, it modeled a principle of sustainability, demonstrating that even the most committed and influential leaders require space for renewal. Observers were reminded that rest and reflection are not signs of weakness, but essential components of effective stewardship and long term impact. This collective engagement with the teachings, prompted by one individual's choice to step away temporarily, reinforced the idea that leadership extends beyond the direct transmission of knowledge. It shapes culture, inspires thoughtful action, and encourages communities to adopt practices that promote growth and resilience. Ultimately, this period of reflection and renewal became a powerful lesson in intentionality. It showed that pauses, when embraced with purpose and guided by values, have the potential to deepen understanding, strengthen commitment, and inspire meaningful change, not just for a leader, but for an entire community. Through this shared moment of contemplation, Evans's ministry demonstrated that reflection is both a personal and communal practice, capable of transforming ordinary routines into opportunities for spiritual and practical enrichment, anticipation, and hope. As news of Dr. Evans' return began to circulate, anticipation grew worldwide. His followers wondered how renewed energy and insight might shape future sermons, initiatives, and outreach. The period of silence had intensified appreciation for his voice and leadership, generating hope that this next chapter would combine the wisdom of experience with fresh vision. Lessons in resilience. Tony Evans' journey offers profound lessons in resilience. Strength is not demonstrated through uninterrupted action alone, but through the wisdom to pause, reflect, and restore. By navigating grief, responsibilities, and global influence with intentionality, he exemplifies how leaders can maintain effectiveness while honoring human limitations. His example provides a blueprint for endurance tempered by insight, demonstrating that renewal enhances leadership rather than detracting from it. A global moment of connection. The impact of his temporary absence extended far beyond local congregations. Followers worldwide reflected on their own need for rest, renewal, and introspection. Leaders, students, and ordinary believers drew inspiration from Evans' example, recognizing that intentional pauses are not signs of weakness, but opportunities for growth, perspective, and strengthened service. Preparing for a new chapter. As his return approached, the community's focus shifted from absence to expectation. Leadership, legacy, and influence are dynamic, evolving with personal growth and spiritual insight. Dr. Evans' next chapter is anticipated as one enriched by reflection, grief, and restoration, a testament to the power of intentional pause in cultivating renewed purpose. The human touch of ministry. Ultimately, the story of Dr. Evans's silence is deeply human. It reminds followers that leaders, no matter their accomplishments, are shaped by personal experiences, relationships, and the demands of service. His pause underscores that effective leadership incorporates rest, reflection, and the courage to embrace periods of quiet, elements that strengthen both character and ministry. A ministry renewed. As he returns, the lessons of his pause resonate more profoundly. His period of reflection and renewal has prepared the way for deeper impact, broader engagement, and a ministry enriched by experience, wisdom, and restored energy. The story illustrates that purpose continues to unfold even in silence. Vision can be restored, and leadership strengthened through reflection. Conclusion: strength in pause. Dr. Tony Evans' journey through silence, reflection, and renewal exemplifies the enduring power of faith, resilience, and intentional leadership. His life demonstrates that even those who serve tirelessly benefit from deliberate rest and introspection. His legacy is illuminated by the wisdom and insight gained during this pause, and his return promises renewed energy, clarity, and vision. In this chapter, Evans models a leadership defined not merely by presence or productivity, but by the thoughtful integration of rest, reflection, and renewed purpose, a living example of strength, grace, and enduring influence.